Okay, let's get started. Thanks for joining me. We're going to be doing something that is near and dear to my heart. This is your brain on Steno. This is a journey into how your amazing Steno mind works. More importantly, how to make it work for you. So some of you know me, some of you don't. My name is Carrie Hewerdine. I'm an RDR. Been with NCRA since 1978 when I got my RPR. And I'm now currently an RDR, very proud of that designation. And I'm certified in 5 states. Used to be 6. I dropped Arizona. I just don't go there that often anymore. In the last few years, since 2017, because of some personal issues in my own life, I became interested in neuroscience and hypnosis, hypnotherapy, all of those things, and wondering, why didn't talk therapy work so fast? But being introduced to a whole new world of modalities, yeah, brilliant things, but more importantly, starting to understand why my brain thinks the way it does, why it does the weird stuff it does behind that steno machine sometimes. And then reflecting back as I became certified and understood more about the whole conscious mind, subconscious mind process, understanding why it took me so long to get out of school. And long story short, compiling what I think has been miraculous in understanding the things that I did not know in school, bringing that full circle to be able to help students to understand that, no, you're not sabotaging yourself. There's a logical reason for why things are happening the way they're happening, and to demystify the whole notion of hypnosis and dropping your brain into a state of relaxation to get the results that you want, not that anybody is controlling your brain. That's kind of your job. So I am currently a board certified clinical hypnotherapist. I'm also a neurolinguistic programmer. I use those two things together because words are powerful. So I'm a certified rapid transformational therapy practitioner. I studied with Marissa Peer, who's the #1 ranked psychologist in the UK. Amazing that I was able to actually study with her in person as my very first mentor and trainer. And I am now a mentor and trainer, not just in what's called RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy, which is kind of like hypnosis, but on steroids. And we never do a type of hypnosis where you don't remember what's happened, because I believe part of the power that we have to regain access of making the things happen that we want, that comes from a cognitive awareness. We want you to remember exactly any revelations that you have, any connections that you make, understanding the patterns in your own thinking process. What causes the anxiety? Where did it come from? Is it true? Can I let it go? Can I go on with my life? Yes, those are the things that I call magic, because magic is just the thing that works, but you don't know how it works or why it works. And because some people don't understand why it's working, your brain immediately thinks it's something unknown and should be feared and stayed away from, which is a shame, because this is just you taking back control of all parts of you. So currently I am in good standing with the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, and also, I'm really proud of this one, the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapists Association. I am also a certified international trainer. So one of the things I do with students as I'm working with them is to help them understand what hypnosis is and what it is not, and to help them learn to do self-hypnosis to get the results that they want in their lives. So let's start off with the very basics. What is your brain? And how is your brain different on Steno? Is it possible to slow your brain waves down and to write faster. Yeah, it is. In fact, that's the only way you can. Being in your conscious mind, the 5% of the time that you're aware during the day, we're up in what's called beta waves. If you look at the brainwave chart on the left, you'll see gamma at the top, which is a very, very high state of surrendered hypnosis or meditation. Below that is beta waves, which is what we're in every day when we're having a conversation with someone. We're deliberately, cognitively creating thoughts and patterns and speaking from a place of decision. That's beta waves. And beta waves actually can go from low beta waves to high beta waves. You can just be in an ordinary conversation with somebody, and that's just low beta waves. You could be in a class trying to hang on for dear life because you're not really sure what they're saying, or a reporting situation, and that's kind of medium beta waves. And then you can be in an agitated, aggressive situation with someone else, or they are, and there's confrontation and yelling happening, and that's basically high beta waves. That is the state in which, when you're reporting and you feel like you've lost it and it's shattered and you can't hang on, and it's that frustration of high beta waves that's not helping you get the results that you want. So just below that is alpha waves, just a little bit slower, and that is hypnosis. Below that, to slow your brain waves down just a little bit more, is theta waves. That's also hypnosis, but it's very deep, deep hypnosis. I love this because Paul McCartney talks about theta waves and the fact that that's where the magic, that's where the music lives. That's where the downloads from heaven and all the spectacular stuff is. You know, that moment right when you're falling asleep, but you're not quite asleep, right when you're waking up, but you're not really awake. And that's theta waves. You bring these amazing stories, words, ideas, notions, music sometimes, but usually you can't bring that with you enough into your conscious awakening fast enough, long enough to grab a pen and jot it down to remember it later. And it's those moments where you say, oh, I'll remember that. That was really important. And it's gone. It's just gone. And I've gone to some experts trying to figure out, you know, why does that happen? Why is that the case? And that's kind of my next venture, is to becoming aware of, where is that stuff coming from? Where does it go? How come I can't hang on to it? And then below theta waves are delta waves, which are the waves we're most familiar with in sleeping, that we need to drop into delta waves for our body and our mind, for all of it to have restorative time, to make new cells, to create new neural pathways, to lay down the physical track of the stuff we're working on during the day. So if you're practicing on your machine all day, but you're not getting enough deep rest at night, you're not really getting the full benefit of your practice, in which case it would really behoove you to practice a little bit less and get a little bit more sleep, because then you would actually be receiving the benefit of the work that you've done during the day. It's amazing stuff that we can work actually against ourselves if we don't understand the processes that are going on. So on the second chart on the right, it's called Human Brain Waves by Age. And this is just basically a rough estimation. But that chattery part of your mind, I really want you to understand where that comes from, what that is, and well, we know why it's hurting us, but do we know how to get it to be on our side so that it works for us instead of against us? The chattery brain, the chattery mind, the monkey mind, all the things we call it, and we've all got some choice names for it, when it shows up in a test, and it's the voice in your head that says, oh my God, you're getting this. And then it turns right around and says, nope, you just dropped something. You know, there's a brief for that. You might as well quit now. You've already failed. Thank you. Whose side are you on? And that thing can't even add. I remember in the first time I took the California CSR, it took me 3 times to pass it. Nowadays, I feel like that's really that's amazing that it only took me 3 times. But I remember that moment when that voice came on board and said, oh my God, you're getting it. You're getting it. And then my hands started shaking. And then it started telling me all the things that I had done wrong and that I should just, you missed one, you dropped something, you messed up something else, you should just quit now. And I remember thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm allowed 50 errors. And so I dropped one, I missed something else. Where's the other 48? And why won't you shut up? Because this is a 4-voice test, and now there are 5 voices in the room. And if I'm stopping to tell you to shut up, now there are 6 voices. Who's the reporter in the room capturing the record? Not me, apparently. So that's your chattery mind. That's beta waves. Beta waves, chattery conscious mind, is the part of you that you needed. It was the only part of you that could help you learn your theory. You learn things up here because this is the part of your brain that analyzes things. It looks at things and says, does that brief make sense? Oh, okay, I get it. I get it where those endings are coming from. Oh, I understand where that beginning came from, that I can use that and add endings onto it. Okay, that makes sense to me. I can use that. I'll incorporate that. That's beta waves. That's you up in your conscious left brain head. But I'm going to teach you how to really get in the zone and write as fast as you can write. You're going to have to be out of your mind. You're going to have to be out of your left brain mind, out of your critical thinking, out of your analytical part of your mind. And you will write faster than you have ever seen yourself write in your life. Let me explain why. First of all, I want to give you permission to not have to listen to the chatter in your head. First of all, everybody's got it. And if somebody talks to you and says, oh, I don't know, I don't have chatter, I don't know what you're talking about, as they're powering down a beer or a glass of wine. And I didn't understand that for a very long time, that how come some people have chattery minds and some people don't? The only people I have ever met who did not routinely have a chattery mind were those who, and I'm going to use the M word, those who meditate, because they have practiced not attaching to the chatter in their head, to allow it to be in a place where it's not interfering with their own deliberate thought patterns. Interesting. And I did talk to a neurosurgeon one time who told me that the only way, and I don't think it is now, but he believed it was the only way you can get rid of the chattery mind is by meditating. But he also gave me a disclaimer and said, if you're working with students, please tell them don't start with more than 1 minute at a time. Just a minute of quiet, deep breathing, eyes closed, silence, to realize that you don't have to come up with thoughts, that there are thoughts happening in your mind all the time, unless you power down a beer or distract yourself with Netflix or do something else that distracts you from the chatter, in which case, if you get so good at distracting yourself from it, you will not notice it's there. But in a test, there is no way to distract from it. You've got to have other means and methods to stay on top of that chatter, or to move it out of your way so that it's not interfering with the words that are coming at you at 1 billion miles an hour. So the thoughts in your head, the chatter that goes by, and it goes by so fast, we don't even have time to analyze it. But those things, if you could slow them down, you would realize a lot of it is just contradicting itself. It's wanting to be heard and wanting to make you think that it's really important and it's on top of solving whatever the problem is in the room at the moment. Here's the problem when we're testing, that this part of your brain is not the fastest part. it talks faster than we could ever write. So we give it the benefit of the doubt and we think, well, it talks all the time and it's constantly telling me what to do. It must be me, but it's not. Trust me, the voices in your head, the chatter when you're behind the machine is not you. And if it's not you, you have my permission to deal with it in different ways that suit what works for you. For some people, it's getting the voice out of the room entirely. For some, it's reassigning that voice a job to do otherwise. Sometimes it's just distracting it during a test by telling it, see that dot I just put on my computer? I want you to look at that dot, conscious mind, while I'm taking this test, and I don't want you to move. You're not allowed to move. Now, this works great with 2-voice and literary and jury charge, not so much with anything that's a 4-voice, where you've really got to look at the speakers. But there are different ways to diffuse your vision and still stay on top of the speakers. Get a hold of me. We can work on that. But this voice in your head is not you. And let me explain to you how someone proved it to me. I love this. On the chart on the right, where it says human brain waves by age, the very first one on the left is delta waves. There's a little baby there, and it says from birth to 24 months, yeah, maybe more or less. But when you come onto the planet, when you're first born, you basically have delta brain waves, period. That's all you have. There's no conscious awareness, there's no problem solving, there's no analytical thinking, none of it. There's just you and very slow rolling waves. And so you go in and out of sleep. You want your physical needs met. You know, you gotta eat and drink and poop and hopefully have someone hold you and nurture you. And then you sleep, and then you will go right through it again. And that's basically your in and out of awake and delta, awake and delta. From about going into the green section where it says theta waves, from years 2 to 6, more or less, you're in theta waves when you're conscious and awake, and otherwise you're in delta waves, and you just roll in between the two of those. Now, I happen to think that that's actually more like 6 months to a year and a half to 2 years that you're in just theta and delta. Because I swear, for most court reporters, they have memories that start much earlier. They have a cognitive awareness about them and things around them than a lot of people. It is the brain function that brings us to be the top of our game at a skill set that is incredibly difficult, because we're amazing. So theta waves, delta waves, rolling in and out. No matter what access of brain waves you have, you're always rolling in and out of all of them. Once they kick into gear, you have access to them. So going on to the next kind of orangish section, it says alpha waves from 6 to 12 years old. The way I was taught, it was more like between 2 and 7. Between the ages of 2 and 7, you're in alpha waves. You're in hypnosis. Hypnosis is alpha and theta waves. Now, why would you be in hypnosis? Because you have a very large learning curve to figure out who you are on this planet and what keeps you safe and who's in charge and what do you mean and what's your value and what is the best way to keep you safe on the planet. And rolling in and out from whatever ages, but 2 to 7, rolling in and out of alpha waves, theta waves, delta waves into sleep, and then rolling back up again. And you always go through every stage. You don't really skip from delta to alpha. You gently go, because you're just like turning up the volume on a radio. You're just turning up the frequency of the brain waves. So here's where the weirdness begins. Somewhere between the ages of 7 and 12, and with court reporters, I swear it's always been 7, 8, 9 years old, just right about in there. Your conscious awareness clicks in. You are an entity, a being alive in a body, and you're consciously aware of you. For some people, this is a very profound moment. For some people, it just happens and that's the way it is and life goes on. And it's fine either way, it doesn't matter. But what I want you to understand is in that moment of clicking up into conscious awareness, your brain has accessed beta waves. You are now in a toolbox in your brain that is available to you for analytics, for logical thinking, for planning, for problem solving, for goal setting. It's all there for you, unless, like me, that part of your brain goes rogue and decides it's in control. In my life, I didn't have solid foundational adults around me. And so my brain went into a moment of feeling like, well, somebody's got to be in control around here. I guess it must be me. And I can keep Carrie safe. I can tell her what not to do and how not to take risks and how to keep her mouth shut because that's safer. I can keep her safe. I can parent her in the absence of other, frankly, healthy parents. For a lot of us, that is the state that we came into. But that's why that chattery part of your brain was not part of your conscious awareness when you were born, when you were 2, when you were 4, when you were up and around and living your life, and that part of you didn't exist. And thank goodness it didn't exist. But this is the part of you that will tell you, you can't finish school. You can't get into the next speed. You can't make the kind of money that the other reporters are making because, and it has a billion reasons because, and it'll look through its file cabinet. Remember here when you were 3 years old and this happened? See, if you listen to me and you just don't take those kind of risks, that kind of stuff's not going to happen. So trust me when I tell you, you're not like other people. You can't finish this. You can't do this. You're not going to be okay taking chances out in the world to become a court reporter. You are really trying to do something that is exquisitely hard, and you weren't made for that kind of stuff. So just back off a little bit. In those moments, realize that that voice is coming from fear. It's coming from fear of failing, fear of being humiliated, fear of having to try harder because it doesn't want to. It wants everything to be familiar, just like it was yesterday, so that life goes on uninterrupted for it. That's the part of you when you feel yourself, you get up, you go to school, you take a test, you fail the test, you cry, and that part of you says, oh, well, yeah, that's what we do. You fail more tests than you ever pass. You're kind of good at it. So, but I don't care. I just want everything to be exactly the same as it was yesterday, because yesterday kept you alive on the planet. Now, the first time somebody said to me, that part of you, its job is only to keep you alive on the planet for one more day. And I thought, oh, isn't that sweet? Till they explained it to me further. No, it's almost parasitic. It's like it wants you to be alive on the planet tomorrow, so it has a vehicle within which to operate. It needs your body to be here alive for it to continue to exist. It needs to exist at all costs. Think of it as your ego. Think of it as any part of you. But start thinking of it as something that is not you. It is not the real, true essence of you, just like a test is not you. I'm going to flip on to the next page and let's see if we can give you a little bit more information on the subconscious and conscious mind. Because your amazing steno mind is unique. There was something about this job that you were drawn to, and it's not by accident. So if you look at this iceberg and think about, this is how I think of it, is your head, everything from your nose, your eyes and up is kind of your conscious mind. And it says 5%. Actually, that should, I got to go back and change that. It actually should say 5 to 10%. And then your subconscious mind, which is everything below, is basically 90 to 95%. So when you hear people talk about, oh, we only use 5 to 10% of our brain, Well, we actually use all of our brain, but 5 to 10% of it is conscious awareness. It's up here in the problem solving area. It's left brain, analytical, looking at things logically, sequencing things. Your conscious mind, its role and purpose is problem solving, being analytical, and it's quite creative. Its mode and means of communicating with you are to be very loud and very fast and very chattery. And that's wonderful in the real world, unless your real world is sitting behind a machine trying to write somebody else's words at 225 words a minute. And then the whole game changes. Let's drop into your subconscious mind, realizing that your conscious mind up here is where you learn to do your theory. You learn it up here, you analyze it, you look at it, you dissect it, you decide if it makes sense or not, and where those things are, and you're memorizing it. And then you're practicing it, and you're practicing it and practicing it and practicing it until you're sick of practicing and thinking, I've gone over these words forever. Why don't they come automatically? Because you haven't practiced them enough yet. Trust me. Your brain learns by repetition, and the repetition gets locked into your subconscious as a program. Weirdly enough, it's the same kind of program that you got programmed during the ages of 2 to 7. During the ages of 2 to 7, your subconscious was making note of, who are you? What do you mean? What is your value? What is your worth? What is it that keeps you safe? What is it that makes you be okay to be here again tomorrow? Your subconscious mind, its role and purpose is that it memorizes everything. Every steno stroke that you have ever put on your machine or said with your mouth, whatever your mode is, those things have been memorized. When you go to take the written knowledge test, everything you have ever seen, heard, been exposed to is within your subconscious. Every bit of it. Makes studying a whole lot less when you get ready to take the test, if the right suggestions are given to your brain that you will be able to access that material easily and effortlessly. So your subconscious also, it creates routines. It looks at the stuff that your upper brain is analyzing, and it says, oh, we can make that be a pattern. We can make that be a routine, and it will lock everything into a routine, into a program, everything that it can, because if it takes it out of up here, then it doesn't have to be thought of. And so you can make a pot of coffee by knowing where everything is, and it becomes routine. You get in your car and you go through a process of checking things before you turn on your keys that you don't even know you're still doing. But your subconscious it's making sure that everybody's there, the mirrors are set, this is, if I got my, whatever it is, if I got my machine with me in the back seat, those kind of panicky moments, it's taking care of all that for you automatically without you thinking about it. Oh, it can do things without you thinking about it. And if it knows how to write 225 words a minute without you thinking about it, it probably can write faster. It also acts instantly on directives. It doesn't filter anything out. If you tell it something that you believe, it will start trying to create your outside world to conform to your beliefs. Its means of communicating with you are very different than your conscious mind. It is very quiet. It gets rolled over a lot by the 5% upstairs chattering incessantly. It's very quiet, and it speaks in terms of feelings, images, visions, inspirations, and nudges. It is the most beautiful part of our being. Without the conscious chattery mind, it is who we came on the planet as. It was us in our most pure essence. So I like to think that the first step in getting a grip on all this stuff, on starting to make it work for you, is to be aware. Because as my hypnosis mentor first told me, you cannot fix the hole in the wall if you can't see the hole. And sometimes we just take a painting and put it over the hole because we don't want to see it. But part of us has seen the hole to be able to hang the painting. The rest of us literally look at the wall and it looks fine to me. There's nothing there to fix. So I want you to totally understand that part of awareness can just be recognizing which part of my brain is talking. Is it the part that fears everything? Is it the part that thinks everything is a problem, but it's okay because I can solve it? I'm the problem solver. You can't live without me. And we don't have a problem? Wait. If we don't have a problem, hang on a second. I will go find one. I will go bring one back to you. And then I will reassure you not to worry because I'm the problem solver. I will solve the problem that didn't exist until I went and found it for you. Because we like having problems. It's job security for your chattery mind. Conversely, the part that operates from fearing everything to keep you safe, there is the part below the surface, the part where your steno brain is, where your steno dictionary is, that is what I call the knowing. It is the absolute knowing that there is nothing to fear, that everything is working out for you, that everything is exactly as it's supposed to be, that you don't have to beat yourself up about whether you're worthy or not because you just are. That the reflection of the test is not who you are, it's just what the school needs for their metrics. It's not about whether you're really writing at 200 words a minute, although there are things that give you some feedback, and those are important things, but it's not who you are. And it's not life or death. It's just what's happening, and that's okay. That's your knowing part, your head, your heart. Your conscious mind, your subconscious mind. It sees that everything is just as it should be. And it wants to do what it believes you want. So be very, very careful and very clear about what you say to yourself, even as a joke, because your subconscious is always listening. Your subconscious is the part of you that when you walk around and say you had a project or something you needed to turn in, to your school on Monday. And the Monday before, you realize, okay, I've got this assignment. Man, I don't want to do that. God, I'm going to have to change my schedule. I'm not going to be able to do this and this and this that I had planned on doing. And every time you turn around and every time you think about that project you've got to get done, you think to yourself, I don't want to do that. I do not want to do that. Now, just because you don't want to do it doesn't mean you're not going to do it. It just means in a perfect world, if I had my druthers, I'd rather not do it. But your subconscious doesn't know that. It just hears you saying you don't want to do that thing. So every time you sit down or you start to think to try to begin to sit down to do the thing, it will distract you. It will remind you you've got to clean the bathroom. It will remind you of the other 10 things that you could just knock those out really quick. And then you'll get to the thing that you want to do, which it will never let you get to the thing you want to do because you've told it you don't want to do it. It will do this to the point of, if it has to, making you physically ill so that then you have a reason to not have done the thing you did not want to do. Your brain is amazing. And it's so completely powerful, but left to its own devices, it's kind of solving problems like a 4- or 5-year-old would. And that's not going to give you the results that you want. It wants to do what it believes you want. So be very careful about what you tell it. The last difference, this is an amazing one, between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, is that your analytical mind only can conceive of the past and the future. It never is in the now. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, thinks everything is happening now. That is where now is, because that's who you are. The essence of your very existence is in every instant of every moment that is now. Up in your head, when you're thinking about tests, this part of you is going to think that it is the greatest fortune teller ever put on the face of the earth. And when you are facing a test coming up, it's going to say to you, you know, let's stay away from that because it wasn't a pleasant experience last time. In fact, you've failed more tests than you've ever passed. Hint, you're supposed to. It doesn't know that. And so therefore, I'm going to predict that since you're so good at failing tests, that tomorrow, when that next test comes up, you're going to fail it also. And now the subconscious part of you is hearing, oh, we're going to fail the test again. And so there's all parts of you that are having conflicting feelings, conflicting ideas, and conflicting goals, and not being able to get the results that you want. So what we need to do desperately is to redirect that chattery mind. I could do a whole seminar on just this, but suffice it to say, for as fast as this part of you thinks, because we could never write as fast as our brain thinks. It's always having multiple conversations, some of which we're not even invited to. We can hear them going on. But as fast as it thinks it is, the conscious part of you that learned the steno, that learned the theory, that is learning and analyzing things every day, the part that says, there's a brief for that, it can process 126 bits of information per second. I don't know what a bit is, but if you can do 126 of them per second, that's pretty freaking fast. Your subconscious can process 2 million bits of information per second. Which one do you want taking the test? Not the thing upstairs that's chattering. And every time you feel yourself or you think yourself analyzing how you're writing, you're up in your head. You are up in your head and you are processing slower. You can only go at the speed of this thing when you're up in your head. Whereas if you can get the chattery mind to step to the side, you have access to your subconscious, which can write faster than you could ever imagine. It can write faster than you can think. It also is so perceptive that it knows not only the words that just came before the word that you're focusing on now, but it can anticipate because it can hear faster than you can what's coming next. And left to its own devices, it knows, is that a phrase? Is that a brief? How is the fastest way I can write that? And it will dive to the bottom of your steno dictionary that's stored in your subconscious and pull out the fastest way to write it in that instance, which may not be a brief, which may be writing it out, or it may be a brief. Get out of its way. Let it do what it knows how to do brilliantly. That moment when you're not consciously analyzing how you're writing as you're writing, you are in the zone. Anytime you can drop, put the beta waves aside, put the chattery mind aside, and just let it happen. Get into a relaxed state, breathing through it, relaxing into it, rolling with it as if waves on the top of a sea. You're in the zone. We all want to be in the zone all the time. And we're in and out of it, and in and out of it, unless you are so stressed out and tense and worried and fearful, and then you can't drop into your subconscious at all because you're trying to write frantically, deliberately in the very place that writes the slowest. So what we need to do is to redirect that chattery mind in any way we can. You're going to love this because to get into the zone is kind of what I do when I'm working with hypnosis clients, because what I want them to do is to take a deep breath, to close their eyes, which shuts out 55% of the input coming into your brain. So now you've got 30% left with your hearing and 10% with kinesthetic, stuff that you're feeling. You just want to feel the keys and have them feel wonderful. So taking a deep breath, closing your eyes takes you dropping down immediately out of your head. I ask them to ask their conscious mind to just don't disappear, just drift away ever so slightly so that I can have a conversation with your subconscious. We don't need to do that when you're writing. We just want the chattery mind to float away far enough away that the subconscious can just listen to the material coming in your ears, process it through your body and out your hands or your mouth so that you can make the best record possible. You just let it happen. You relax into it. That part of you, the chattery part, it needs to hush and it needs to wait until it's needed. And you need to tell it, I'm not going to get rid of you. You're the problem solver. That's really important to me because you're actually really, really good when I get into the transcription part and the proofreading part and the where the hell do the commas go part. That's where you shine. But behind that machine, baby, I'm sorry, but you're not the fastest tool I have. And you're interrupting the fastest tool I have by constantly, hey, 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 while he or she is trying to take a test. You're interrupting them with minutia, with there's a brief for that. Well, there might well be. Make a note of it and remind us later. It's not important in the moment. It's not important in the now. And because this thing is so loud, it can pull your writing right up out of your subconscious and right back into your head. If you don't take control of it, it will be in control of you and you will be in school a whole lot longer. So what we need to do is to learn to relinquish fast writing to your subconscious, to allow it to happen, to have that last conversation with your chattery mind and say, you know what, I've got to get out of my way also. So it's not just you kicking the conscious mind out of the room, but it's, yeah, you're going to have to be out of the room while I'm taking the test because you've proven you can't shut up. You just can't, bless your heart. But if you're in the other room, I can't hear you when I'm writing. But because you have supersonic hearing, you can still hear everything that's happening in the test. It's kind of amazing. And then in the transcription part, you will remember things. I'm going to trust my notes above all, but you will remember bits and pieces and chatter to me. And I can afford to listen to your chatter when I'm transcribing. I can afford to listen to you telling me, you know, you better go back and proofread that one more time, just one more time, just to be safe, just to keep you from being embarrassed. Okay, thank you. That's where I need you. I don't need you chattering at me like that during a test. Just let me put my blinders on. Let me take one deep breath. Let me jump into the pool, the Olympic-sized swimming pool that is the 5-minute test, and just stroke, 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 word, 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 until the 5 minutes is done and we raise back up and take a deep breath and we're done with the test. Think of it as being in a long tunnel, but there's an end to the tunnel. There's an end to the pool. There's an end to the test. And all you've got to do is focus every bit of your energy on letting the words come through you and flow through you and have them be processed in the fastest way possible. The part of you that is able to process information at 2 million bits per second because it hears faster, processes faster, and writes faster than you can imagine. You show up, you give your body to the test, to the machine, and then you and your conscious mind kind of step out of the way and just allow it to happen. So lastly, I'm going to ask you, if you're up for it, to join the magic over at Magic for Court Reporters, joining kind of the magic movement. This was born from me trying to fix problems in my own life, trying to understand why the things that happened to me as a little kid were still holding me back 40, 50, 60 years later. Where the beliefs came from, weird stuff that is not even mine, stuff that was generationally handed down. And it really doesn't matter. Was it genetic or was it just, a cultural hand down? Doesn't matter. If you've taken on familial beliefs and taken them on as your own beliefs, it doesn't really matter where they came from. For you, in the moment, you believe them, and that is your reality. If you think you're not as smart as other people, so you can't get out of school as fast, that's your truth. If you believe that you're kind of incredible and that you can get out of school in 18 months instead of 24 months because you are kind of incredible, that's your truth. And that will be what is true for you. I love telling this story about Molly Cooper because she talks about getting the brochure from the school and saying, oh, look at that. It's a 24-month course. Well, I'm a pretty smart cookie. She really is. She had a background in linguistics, which helped her hear words faster, better, easier than the rest of us who aren't familiar with those sounds. But she looked at the brochure and said, I'm a pretty smart cookie. I bet I could finish in 18 months or better. And I was astounded because why would you think that? Because when I saw the brochure, and that brochure said it's a 24-month program, the first thing my brain said was, well, you better tell everybody else in your life that it's a 48-month program. So when you don't finish in 24 months, they won't think you're stupid. And if you finish before 48 months, then they're going to think you're incredible. Because I was so worried about what my progress meant to other people. And Molly had none of that. There was no resistance. It was simply, this is now an 18-month course for me, 24 for some other people, I guess. Are you guys sitting down for this? She did a lot of other magical things, but the first thing she did was declare to the universe what she thought was possible for her. And I hope I get this right when I say that she got out of school, passed the qualifiers for the California state test, and passed the California state test first try in 1 year, 1 month, and 13 days. Molly, I hope I got that right. It doesn't matter. It's just freaking phenomenal. But that's what she believed was possible for her. And you can hold a belief, and as long as there is no resistance to it, it has no choice but to manifest in your life. It's us getting in our own way with the doubts and the what ifs and the, oh, well, that's what other people can have, but not me. Those are the things that are going to get in your way. Those are the holes in the wall that you can't patch if you don't know they're there. Please don't be afraid of hypnosis. I'm working with students every single day for free while I can. But there are a dozen other ways to attack this stuff without using hypnosis at all. It's faster, it's more effective, it's more efficient, it gets right to the root of the problem, pulls out the stuff you don't want, and replaces it with a beautiful program that is only crafted by you. It is your words and the way you want to feel and navigate your life in the world. And that is ethically all a hypnotist or hypnotherapist is allowed to do, is to reflect back the world that you say you want to see. And then to realize that that world was always there. It was merely the filters you put up in front of you that made you think it wasn't there. I'm going to leave you with one last story. And it's one I tell often about how powerful your mind is. Have you ever lost your keys? Run around the house and said to yourself, I can't find them. I don't know where they are. They're lost. They're gone forever, period. You go and take an Uber, get your stuff done, come home, look in the spot where the keys weren't, and there they are. And how can that be? Well, those keys weren't there, but they were. The 126 bits per second part of your brain said, I got to be very judicious about the bits that I use for what, to keep you safe on the planet. And you have just told me the keys are gone. They don't exist. They're lost. As far as I'm concerned, they aren't there at all. And I'm not going to waste one bit of information to try to find something that doesn't exist. We're on to the next topic. But when you come back later, that filter is gone because it's not a problem anymore. And there's the keys, because your whole awareness is there. You have not filtered out anything. In that moment, when you look at the outside world, this is what blew me away. When I first heard that analogy of the keys, and I thought, oh my God, I can be looking at something that's actually there and not see it. Like, how can that be? But that's happened to me, so apparently it's true. But if that's true, how can it be that I'm looking at the outside world? Is there so much more going on out there and I'm not seeing it because I don't believe it's possible for me? And that's when the whole thing shifted for me. And I realized that manifesting, that creating your future is not bang, it's changed all instantly. It is that the world is happening out there, and things, amazing, wonderful opportunities and notions and thoughts and things are happening out there. Opportunities for you to keep and progress and go on and be out and be working. Things are happening for you out there. But if you have filters up that say that's not possible for me, I don't believe that, that's not happening, that can't be happening, you won't see them. No matter how hard you're looking, you won't see them, because for you, they don't exist until they do. That is what I call magic. Magic for us, magic for court reporters, magic for life. Magic is the thing that works. You just don't know how it works. And so many people steer away from it because of the fear of the unknown. The brain telling you that if it's unknown, it must be bad. It must be a threat. And if it's a threat, we have to stay away from it, even if it's a good thing and it would help me get out of school faster, even if it's just me learning more about me and becoming more in control of me. And some people can make that switch and some people can't, and that's okay. There's no judgment. We are where we are. So if you're so inclined, please feel free to look us up, Magic for Court Reporters. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and I'm still growing YouTube and Instagram because I have my own technological blocks. I'm working on them. And you've got coaches and mentors for theory and writing and practice, but that's not what we're about in Magic for Court Reporters. We're a support group of students, and we're slowly adding in working reporters. I offer the esoteric neuroscience side of why our minds work the way they work. And I throw out everything I can, because not everything works for everybody. But if one thing works for one person and it changes the trajectory of their life and what they believe is possible for them, then my work is done. And it feels good to have come full circle to help others achieving their goals every single day. When I get behind my machine, because I'm working too, I sit there for a moment and I go through the routine that I give to the students, which is ground yourself, center yourself, remind you who you truly are, that the chatter is there to help you, to analyze, to be a problem solver, and to remind it that it's not allowed to interfere and interject in this, in my case, deposition that I'm going to be doing online. That it can stay a fair distance away and make notes if it needs to tell me later if it needs to. But otherwise, I'm going to sit back and let my subconscious write the way it wants to write, most comfortably, as fast as it can, and to trust, to totally take everything at the speed of trust, knowing that just as if I was driving down the road in a state of hypnosis, being in alpha waves, kind of having that road memorized to the point where I'm not consciously aware of it. I'm not asleep, I'm not gone, but I'm not really, there's part of me that's not there. It just floated ever so slightly away. And in that moment, everything is fine. If a deer runs out in front of my car, trust me, all parts of my brain are going to jump in there in an instant to slam on the brakes, to take the action that needs to be taken, because you're not asleep. But to get the fastest results behind that machine, You got to let the part of you that knows what it's doing be able to do its job as fast as possible. The last thing I will leave you with is a derivation of a beautiful quote. This one is, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? Because we all have it in us. And I can't remember the precise quote or the author, but it is something to the effect of, let me fall if I must, for the part of me I am becoming will catch me. Thank you for sharing this time with me. Feel free to look me up. I'll squeeze you in somehow. We'll do a 1-hour strategy call, and we're going to change the trajectory of what you thought was possible. Love you. Take care.